Have we started yet?
Not yet.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Don't mind me. I'm just doing a hair treatment.
Oh, okay.
Hey, hi everyone. Very good morning to all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. A very good morning. Okay. So I will be your instructor for this module as such. So my name is Saurdeep Singha. Okay. I have around 9 to 10 years of experience in the data analytics and AI innovation space. So currently I'm heading the data analytics and data architect division in a pharmaceutical based company, right? And teaching is my passion. I love to teach. I'm being with the CICD for almost 3 years now, right? And of course, in this space, the most important thing is to keep on learning, to keep on understanding the new technology, the new tools that we actually use. And of course, also use AI as well as we go ahead, right? Be it like developing AI or using LLM models along with our work, right? So that we automate a lot of work we do. And basically in data analytics, right? There's a lot of analysis automation that can be done with AI. So I will be going through this as well. Okay. So a quick understanding of how I'll be going through this entire module is such. We will have like complete 3 hours, right, every day. In between, I'll be giving 10 minutes break, equally spaced for after 1 hour. Okay. And again, it's a humble request, just like all other classes. I want the class to be a bit interactive, right? So that we can understand, learn, and it's a lot of things that I learn that I can learn from you guys as well. So let's make it quite interactive. Okay. So that's about it. Okay. And before we proceed, just want to have a quick understanding about the cohort. If some of you can please introduce about yourself, just basic your name and your background a little bit so that I can modulate the class in a certain way, right? If somebody please wants to go ahead and introduce themselves.
I'll go first. My name's Rodolfo Diaz. I'm in Southern California. My background is in management, and I haven't had really hands-on IT for a while, so this class was interesting to me as far as the analytics piece of it, just analyzing everyday data. So I'm looking forward to that piece.
Great. That is really good. Okay, that's good. That's really good. So have you used any tools or anything as such for analysis?
Other than Excel, that's about it. I'd like to get to know some of the other tools that are out there, like Power BI is one. Maybe plugging into like databases as well, a little more into that rather than just Surface Excel.
Great. Okay. That's good. And you will have an overview of a lot of tools other than, of course, the primary one, which is Excel as such. Yes, somebody else wants to go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Saida. My background is in public health. I've used different databases like CalReady, CalConnect to collect data and upload patient data. And I currently reside in Monterey County. And did I miss anything else?
I think so. You have covered most of it. Thanks for your intro. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Great,
Sounds
great.
good. Thank
That's
you.
good. And especially even
Hi.
I have worked with the healthcare sector for a while. I have worked with different sectors as such. I've worked in manufacturing sector, telecom sector, mostly in like pharma as well as in the healthcare. So
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
My name is Natalia. I live in San Jose, California. Originally, I'm from Ukraine, and I have many years of experience in business development and management. I recently completed NI Administrative Assistant program, and now I'm excited to study data analytics. And nice to meet everyone.
great. That is really great. BD is again a very interesting role to be in. I interact with BD people a lot, business development people. Great. Any more to go or?
Okay, I'll go next. My name is Rebecca
Yes.
from Sacramento. My background is in nursing. I just wanted to get more information on AI for various reasons, business as well as my nursing background. And that's it.
That's great. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. Okay.
I can go now.
Yes,
yeah.
please.
All right. Chijoke Alma. I have a background in user experience design and research. Mostly worked on consumer products, different apps, mobile and desktop applications, also enterprise. I've worked with Amplitude and Adobe Analytics, but that's about it as far as like other like analytics platforms.
That's great. I mean, I have also used Adobe Analytics as well as Google Analytics for a different type of projects as such. Basically, once we actually publish any, and I was working with that in the previous organization where we were doing a lot of journey analysis and understanding how to basically track a lot of measures as such. Again, web analytics is a huge space, right? It's a very niche space, and like a lot of industries and a lot of jobs out there who use Google as well as Adobe Analytics as such. But I guess that they are currently migrating to CGI as such. So that is where it is. Again, Adobe Analytics, it includes a lot of tools, right? Target to implementation, a lot of things, right? So again, a great tool. And if you have a good understanding of the other analytics that we talk about, apart from the web analytics, then combining both the things, it's a very, like, it's a huge package, I would say. Right? Good job. Okay.
Great.
Okay. Yes, somebody else wants to go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. This is Boldy. My background is in finance and accounting in private government areas. I'm excited for this journey to apply on my experience for my future career.
Great. And actually, in the I also had the operations sector, and so a lot of financial analysis is something that is a part of my work. And we'll be also dealing with a lot of data set in the financial aspects as well. Okay, great, good to hear, and good to hear that some of you have a good understanding and have played around with a lot of data, right? So let's go ahead and understand. So for today, it will be a basis of the data analytics. So let me just quickly share my screen. Okay. Do let me know once the screen is visible. Okay, I guess the screen is visible too. Okay. Great. So in this entire module, since this is the very basics, right? This is 15 hours or this full week that we are going to take, right? So we'll understand the basics over here. So in the basics, I'll be covering some of the most important nuances that we have in the data analytics world as such, right? I'll be covering with some of the tools and technologies that we actually use as such on a day-to-day life, right? I'll be also showing some of the use cases that I use on a day-to-day working as such as a data analyst, right? So that you will have an understanding, like in an industry, how do we work, right? So I'll be also introducing some of the frameworks as such that we actually like apply whenever we take up any project as such, right? For our stakeholders, for our clients, and an end-to-end implementation of how do we actually go ahead with. Okay. So and there is a lot of process involved and a lot of tools. So I won't be covering a lot of tools in this module. Just we will be covering the basics as such, because this is not a complete tool class, right? And going ahead, be it like Python, be it R programming, be it like Power BI, be it Tableau, right? Be it SQL, right? So all these will have a separate module, and you will learn each and everything to machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, and GenAI. Okay, so this is how the course will go, right? And understanding that some of you have a good understanding of the data, some of you might not be as strong, right? We'll go from the direct basics as such, understanding each and everything in detail, okay? And I really want the class to be super interactive, okay? And if you have any doubts, any questions, please feel free to pause me at any point of time and to ask your doubts, okay? Okay. So in this overall learning objective will be, first we'll be understanding what is data analytics, okay? And in which of the industries do we use it? Basically, if you ask me, in all the industries across all the domains, we actually use it, okay? Second, we'll be understanding what is the data life cycle, okay, in any analytics that we do. Basically, it is collection, cleaning, analyzing, visual, and interpretation. We also have one more phase, which is not mentioned over here, that also I'll be introducing, which is the support and maintenance phase, okay, which becomes one of the most important part. I would say that some of the people actually make a complete career in maintenance and whether it is like data maintenance or application maintenance, right? So which becomes a huge part, because once any type of development is done, right, there is a lot of maintenance work that needs to be done. So people hire a lot of maintenance work who don't need to actually build something from scratch, but to maintain this ongoing systems as such, okay? Next, we'll be understanding what are the different type of data. Basically, we have three types of data, which is structured data, unstructured data, and we also have something called a semi-structured data as such, okay? So we'll be understanding what these type of data are, right? How do we deal with such type of data, okay? And which is the perfect data to do an analysis, and how do we do actually some conversions around if the data is not in a good format as such, okay? And of course, we will be also doing and understanding a little bit about like predictive analytics, descriptive, diagnostics, okay? So how do we actually use the data for all the different type of analysis as such, okay? Then we'll be understanding with the help of spreadsheet technique. So initially it will be only Excel that we will be understanding, because Excel is the most primary tool that people still use for any type of data modification and data transformation, right? Of course, if you talk about today's world, we don't use Excel a lot to do the transformation, because we actually intake a lot of data as such, like millions and millions of record, right? And you cannot take millions of record in an Excel and do any type of transformation on it, right? You need a high-end server, which is a local server or a cloud server, and then you need to put certain scripts to do the modification and then import the table. Servers have a lot of space and a lot of computation power in it, right? And so, of course, it comes with a cost, but of course, you can store the data in a much reliable format, and you can retrieve the data whenever it's required, right? So for that, since it's a basic class to understand, we'll be basically understanding a little bit about, with the help of Excel, how can we organize, clean, and prepare the data for analysis. Any data that comes through is basically in a raw format, right? We cannot use any data in a raw format. We need to transform and clean the data before even going ahead and doing our analysis, okay? There are various tools and techniques that we usually follow, but we'll be understanding some of the basics that is prerequisite and that should be done, okay? Okay, so with the help of Excel itself, we'll be understanding some simple charts, pivot tables, and dashboards from raw data, okay? So again, this will be very basis as such, okay, not very high end, so that we have a little bit understanding of how we can basically create some simple charts and a dashboard out of a raw data that can be taken, okay, for quick analysis. Okay, that is not building dashboards end to end, for quick analysis as such. Okay. Some of the important things that comes to us once we actually take data is understanding, identifying trend, pattern, and outliers. Okay. So question to you guys, how can you tell me what is the best way to actually understand certain trends, patterns, and outliers as such, according to your understanding? What is the best method to understand this type of data as such, that the data tells a story about trends, about patterns, about outliers?
Visually, you mean? Visually, I would say like charts.
Exactly, absolutely right. Visually through charts as such. Okay, but can you tell me why is it very important to understand these visually as such? Why can't we just take the data and do an analysis on top of it? Why it becomes so important that we visually see the data and the incoming of all the different type of visualization tools that is one of the major tools for analysis as such? So why do you think that visual plays a very important role in data?
From my experience, it's the audience.
Sorry, one by one, if you can go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
I said from my experience, it would be the audience you're presenting that information to, that data to.
Okay, yes, information to the data, absolutely correct. Yes, anybody else?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. It's easier for others to understand it. You might have the domain experience to maybe understand it in a way that may not be as visual, but it just kind of helps to engage your stakeholders, especially if you need some sort of buy-in and you need the data to tell a story.
Exactly, right. The thing is that when you have certain data, right, and let's say you have, and of course the data is not a few records or rows as such, right? It's like a lot of data. Okay, if you take a real-time scenario, it's a lot of data. Just understanding or seeing the data won't make much sense as such. Okay, so in general, when we talk about data, so we can actually nowadays, earlier it was not even possible to collect a lot of data, but now it is actually possible to collect a lot of data as such, right? But if the data is not giving you any type of insights or information as such, then that data is of no use, right? That is a garbage data for us. Okay, and to understand the data in a normal numerical format, it becomes very, very difficult as such, right? Rather than if I showcase the same data in a pictorial format, that makes more sense. That gives more information as such, right? Because our brain perceives in such a way that anything that we see as a picture, right, that actually strikes us and we can understand it better, right? So if you recollect, right, even when we were small, then we had books and all, which had huge pictures and all, right, and lots of text, right? That is how we were learning and perceiving, right? The same way over here as well. Okay, once you have a picture kind of thing with the data, okay, which is the backend as the data, right, then understanding the data, gaining information from the data becomes much, much easier. Okay, and that is why whenever we have data, right, the best format to analyze is to visually analyze the data with the help of graphs. Okay, of course we have different type of graphs for different type of analysis, right? So we'll also be talking about that and the most basic ones as such. Okay, so nowadays let me tell you one thing, there are a lot of graphs that is came with a lot of features as such. Okay, but still if you ask me what is the most favorite graphs of all the stakeholders, right, or the clients, I would say, right, it is the basic ones as such. Okay, it is the line graph for trend analysis, it is a bar graph for comparison, right? It is the pie chart again for percentage comparison as such without the actual numbers, right? It is the filter. So these are the basics that we actually have. It is still those. Apart from, of course, there is some other type of important graphs like tabular graph, decomposition tree. So all these are also there, but the three remains as it is, and like people use these graphs actually or not, okay, rather than all the other advanced graphs that we actually have. Okay, next is troubleshoot common data quality. For example, missing values, duplicate, inconsistent formatting, right? So this becomes a very, very important area where people actually deal a lot with understanding how to improve the data quality as such. Okay, so again, whenever we get any type of data as such, okay, there is a lot of data quality and a lot of transformations that we actually do. And that is actually of course, that is the first thing that we go ahead and we do. Okay, but again, a question to you guys, right? So can you tell me, let's say I actually have done my data quality, okay, and assured that the quality is up to the mark, but let's say if still there is some type of data which is not of a good quality creeps in as such, okay, so which area, okay, or which department, or which is the data analytics, you can say the area itself, actually handles these type of flags as such, flagging that, okay, this is a data quality issue, please check this, please rectify this. And again, this is one of the huge aspect, like back before 5 to 6 years, even I didn't knew that this is a complete department as such. Some people even specialize in this area. Okay, so can you tell me what is that area called, and what do people usually do in those areas? Any random guess, anything that comes in your mind?
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I have actually set up, and the data quality, data transformation, everything is looking good. But let's say in future, there is some data quality mismatch, data transformation, which means I'm not getting the actual data that I want, right? And once you don't get the actual data, right, that is a concern basically, right? That people needs to actually look into and solve before doing the analysis. And you can't just go there and check, let's say if it is going out of sight, right? If you don't have a check as such, right? Then you can do the analysis, and that will be a wrong data analysis. To flag such things coming up, for example, let's say that you are actually analyzing the, let's say, cost of resources, okay, cost, or that is the salary, let's say fixed cost, okay, and let's say by mistake somebody's salary is coming as negative as such, and that is not possible, right? But you are doing a, let's say, cost analysis of the entire business unit or the organization, right? So, or you're doing an average, so you are summing up everything, right? And you won't even notice that some negative values are also coming, right? So how can you avoid these situations, right? There is a particular area, let's say like the development area, the quality area. So we have a particular area in the data analytics world, and that department or those people or those resources are basically used or are focusing on these type of flagging to check these type of data quality issue and to flag them and to rectify them. Any wild guess?
My only guess is the IT department. But-
No. So IT department is basically okay. So since you have asked me IT department in any organization, basically what they look into. Let me just be very clear, because I work closely with the IT department as well. Okay, here and there I actually tell that, okay, give me this access, give me that access. IT department is basically there to help you to give access as such. Okay, let's say that I have a tool called as, just giving you a simple example, I'll be explaining that tool as well. So I have a tool, for example, called as Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay, that is an analytics storage tool to do the transformation and the analysis as such, right? Now, I want access to a particular database, okay, or a data warehouse in Azure, okay? To build that access, IT department will tell that, okay, I will make you a developer or a maintainer, okay, or an admin access as such, Okay, today only I was arguing that, okay, I want an admin access because I need to create a pipeline, a CI/CD pipeline that we say, right? So he or she is basically, of course, the risk as well. I'm giving the access, it is proper access or not, and basically giving everybody else the access as such. Okay, and seeing through it that everything is working well. Okay, they don't even understand, or they don't, if for example any bug comes in. So you need to check the bug. You need to check the logs. We call it as log file. Okay, or we also call it as monitoring tool. Okay, I'll be talking about everything in detail. Okay, so they don't even do that. The IT team is only and only to do the like giving the you can say the permissions as such. Okay, for various tools that is being set up. They give the permission for, let's say, if you want to upload your work, right? In let's say Power BI, you want to upload in the website, okay, in the workspace. You need to create that. So that permission again will be given by the IT team. Okay. So their only and only work is to give the permissions. Apart from, of course, the other things, that is your laptop is not working, please restart it. So these things are there. But yeah, for any tool that you use, right, which is an online tool which might incur cost as such, right? So the IT team will be helping you out. And of course, there will be the cost factor. So you will have different discussion on getting the request approved and everything. Okay. And of course, for example, if you want certain licenses as such, okay, for example, I'm currently using Claude Code license. Okay, that's a very heavy and a very expensive license, but I'll be telling you how Claude Code, which is an AI automation tool as well, like makes my life much simpler as such. Okay, it like reduces my 5 days job in less than 10 minutes, literally. Okay, literally, I'll say this. Okay, so that is how it is. Okay, but not the IT team. Okay, but a good understanding. Okay, this is what the IT team basically does. Okay?
What about quality assurance department?
Quality assurance, absolutely. So quality assurance basically takes into consideration, okay, and so what they do is, initially when you are setting up the entire system as such, okay, when you actually take the entire data as such, then they are the first person that comes into picture. Okay, basically they are the data engineers, what we call them. Okay, so they actually check the data, understand the data, right? Okay, what are the different type of like data issues are there, and how to transform and make it like perfect for the further analysis. Okay, they come in the first phase as such. Okay, and of course some QA people will also do the other work, okay, that I'm going to tell you. Okay, so basically, okay, what I'm telling about over here is, it is the data governance people and the data governance team. Okay, QA people usually sit before even doing before even starting the project. Okay, data governance people, on the other hand, they will be providing once the system has been actually created, right, in the maintenance part. But of course, it so happens that QA people, once they have done their part and the system is absolutely working, they form and they go and they become the data governance team as well. So they do both the things interchangeably. Absolutely. Okay. So let me talk about this thing like in detail. So data governance is basically creating a governance checks around all your different type of information that is coming through. Okay. Of course, initially you will have a lot of checks that is actually implemented, let's say at an SQL level, right? But there are certain checks that you actually miss. Okay. And for example, so how does QA and data governance team differ? Okay. Now, let's say that I actually have put a check, right? Or like in QA as such, right? So basically, if something is more than let's say more than 0 in the salary as such, okay, so I will put that as the sum, and I'm not at all handling any negative data. Okay, so the QA has assured that, but the negative data is coming through, that is not being added in my calculation, but the data governance people are flagging that such and such resources are getting negative data. So can you tell me, once these type of flag occurs, what is the first thing that you go ahead and do? Of course, let's say I'll show you as well. I have created some of the data governance dashboards. So I'll show you that. Okay, so how do we actually handle that? So, but can you tell me, if certain anonymous data comes in and it starts flagging, as such. For example, I actually put a ticket today to my data engineering team, in which I saw that one of the projects that came in, okay, it's a project that came in from Salesforce. We have the Salesforce as the source side, okay, and the project has a change order in place. Change order means, I guess you can understand, right? Initially, we had a cost allocated to it, and there is a certain modification that needs to be done. So we told her, okay, we need 3 extra months for the same, and we would be charging so and so for the 3 months, okay. And the date as such, right? The date as such actually extended for 3 months, right? So of course, when the data transformation and everything is working, then the data is coming fine. But the thing is that the new date, which is the end date, that was not coming through. It was the old date as such, okay. And we also have a project planning in place, okay, which is forecasting. So that was not working, okay. So that became a major issue as such, okay, because there were many projects with a certain change order in place, and that was not coming through. But luckily, in the data governance, we were flagging them, okay. So once we understand, then there is an issue as such, okay, with the data, okay, which is being flagged as such, okay. So can you tell me what are some of the steps that you feel should be taken?
Please repeat.
Okay. So let's say there is error data that is coming in. Okay. Let's say, for example, I give you a data in which a data is coming through of a person with a salary, and that salary is coming as negative, and that is being flagged by the data governance team that such and such resource is having a negative salary, which is not possible. So what are some of the steps that you can follow to actually you can say solve that bug or solve that error as such? What, as a data analyst or a data engineer, I'll be talking about these roles as well, okay, in detail. But according to you, what should a data engineer or a data analyst do to such flags or such error data as such?
You'd have to rerun the data.
Yes,
or
of course.
reanalyze the data or something, and then alert whatever dependencies who are using the data, just let them know that that something needs to be done with the data, or we need to rerun it, and maybe don't use the numbers.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Yes, somebody else wants to go ahead, please.
What about verifying the input or the criteria?
Absolutely. Verifying the input, verifying the source side, right? That is one of the things. Absolutely. That is one thing that we do. Okay. But before that, there is one more thing that we do from our side. So can you just list me what is the thing that we do from our side? Okay. So whenever there is any error data that creeps in, right? So the first thing that we do from our side is we verify all the different type of formulas and transformations that we are doing on the data, right? So basically, let's say that I am basically for example, I'm creating some formulas around any type of measures that I create, right? So I just have a quick check that the formula is working correctly, right? And after that, of course, I do check. Of course, let's say that you get all the data as coming as not correct as such, or a few of them as not correct. That means there might be some error, or there might be some bug from your side, okay, from the formula side. Next, if I say that there might be, there are 1 or 2 errors as such in the entire data set of like thousands and thousands of records, then of course, the first primary thing that comes in our mind is the source might not be correct. So then we go ahead and we check the source. Are we getting the correct data from the source or not? Okay. And of course, these are the steps that we actually follow. Okay. Sometimes it so happens that error data creeps in. Okay. And that is not required data. I'll tell you what recently happened is that So we have the employee ID field, right? And we have a person, like a person ID as well. Okay. I got an error recently in which the person ID and the employee ID is totally two different columns as such. Since I also do the HR analysis and strategy building, so they have created two records as such in the HR. So one for our employee ID and one for the person ID. So the person ID is correct, but the employee ID was showing incorrect data. And later on, they were pulling the correct data. So there were two records that was coming in. Okay. And every time that was the same thing for several people. There were two records as such, one with the correct employee ID, one with the wrong employee ID. Okay. And again, this was communicated to us, and they were of the opinion that if people are yet to be onboarded, then we create an initial like a demo type of ID, and after they have onboarded, we do the correct ID. And then they told that, okay, the demo ID starts with a V as such, and the correct ID does not has any V or any type of numerical or alphanumeric character in it. Okay. So the next thing that we do is handle from our side, where we actually understand, okay, this is a error data, but this will come in and it will come in at any point of time. So why not handle it? So what we do is we totally eradicate that data and we handle that data and we delete or drop that particular record. So this is a third thing that we actually do. Okay. So these are some of the things that we actually understand, analyze, and then we go ahead and basically like handle those kind of inconsistent data as such. Okay. Okay. And then next is we use some widely used tools, for example, Google Sheets and Excel. So we'll be using Excel as such. Okay, Google Sheets is on a similar line, but Excel has a lot more functionality, as I would say. Okay, even when I get Google Sheets, I usually like download it and I open my Microsoft Excel because it is much more easier. It is much more you can say not much more functionality. Okay, and we also have the transformation, which is the Power Query editor as well. Okay. So that is why Excel is my first choice. Okay. But of course, with the help of Excel also, we can do an end-to-end analysis as such. Okay. Okay. So this is what we'll be covering, okay, in this module. Any doubts, any questions from anyone? Again, please do let me know if you have any doubts. Again, if you feel the pace is very slow or very fast as such, okay, you can let me know that as well. Okay.
I don't really use Excel a lot in my career, but however, I'm familiar with it, so I hope I'll be all right with that.
Yeah, no worries. I do understand that, and we'll like go from the very, very basics as such, okay, of Excel.
Okay.
So I want everybody of you to have your like Microsoft Office in place so that you can open your Microsoft Excel. Okay, that is only a prerequisite. Okay, for this module. Yes, David. You have any questions? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I am a visual learner. I like to see what you're talking about. And so far, I have no clue what you said. I can't hear, I can't understand what you're saying.
Okay. Yes, I do understand that. And so I was just going through the overall posts, and of course, I'll be showing you a lot of tools, a lot of data and everything, right? So this is just an introduction. Okay. So I'm just introducing, but yes, I'll be showing you visually all the aspects that we'll be learning ahead. Okay. Absolutely.
Wow.
Okay.
Do you, if I understood correctly, you want us to open Excel?
Not as of now. I'll be sharing you a data set, okay, for analysis, and then you can go ahead and open and do your analysis. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Any more questions? Any more doubts? Anyone? Okay. Okay, so let's understand some of the nuances that we actually use. Okay, so firstly, can you define what in like layman language, what do we actually understand by the term data, by the term information, and by the term data analytics? So I'm going through these nuances because these are very, very important to understand. Okay, and then we will be going ahead. Okay. In layman language, or are they specifically one or the same?
I'd say
Okay.
data. Oh,
Yes, yes,
go
yes.
ahead. No, I was going to
Yeah,
say, I'd say
please go ahead.
in layman's term, maybe data is the quantitative and qualitative representation
Mhm.
of like any action, I guess.
Okay, okay. That's really good. That's really good. Anyone else?
I would say data and information is pretty much the same.
Okay, okay. And what about data analysis?
Would be the data analysis would be what you gain from the information that you were receiving.
Okay, okay. That's good. That's okay. Okay. So the thing is, any raw information that comes to you, and that can be any type of information, right? That can be data can be in the form of, like, let's say structured data, okay, which is, let's say, Excel or a Tableau data, okay. Semi-structured data, which is a JSON kind of data, or HTML, if you have come across HTML. So that is also a semi-structured. Or it can be unstructured, let's say audio file, video file, image file. So all these are unstructured data. There is no structure for it, okay. Even Word document, right? So these are data in raw format, right? So any data won't give you much insight unless and until you do an analysis on top of it, okay. You analyze the data, okay. And once you analyze the data as such, you gain information or insights from it, okay. That is what the entire jargon is all about, okay. Data, what we call it as raw data, okay, which gives no story, insight, or information, right? We do an analysis on top of the data to gain information as such, okay. That is what it is, okay. So that is what is data information and data analytics, okay. So of course we talked about a lot of why do organization basically rely on data analysis to make decision. So let me tell you a very important thing right now, okay. So earlier what used to happen is, once people were not taking data seriously and they were not making any informed decision on data, okay, people were highly and highly reliable, like relying on all the different type of insights as such, okay. Insights in the sense that they were relying on their like domain expertise of several years, that okay, this is how it should be, that is how it should be, right? And there was no for that they might create or make a lot of mistakes as such, okay. For example, just giving you a simple example, let's say that we actually have any type of, let's say, sales that is happening, okay, let's say of for example, let's say firecrackers as such, okay. Those sales might be seasonal as such, okay. It might have a seasonality, that yes, in some seasons it is having a lot of sales, some season it is not having a lot of sales, right? So with the help of data, you can analyze in these type of patterns, and you can basically store several things in the warehouse accordingly, right? So that you can actually reduce any type of like overtime or downtime as such, right? And you can you can sell off your inventory really fast, okay. But in certain situations, what happens is that if you don't rely on data as such, okay, you might miss these kind of important insights, and that might not be a suitable decision. Okay, that is why organization nowadays, okay, in each and every part as such, okay, and each and every business unit, as you see, okay, be it HR, be it operations, be it finance, right? Any like business unit that you take in an organization, they are using data and they are relying on the data on a lot, basically. Okay. Okay. So that is what it is. Okay. Next. So can you tell me what is structured data and what is unstructured data as such?
I guess I could take a wild guess. I mean, the structured would mean that maybe the data was cleaned and scrubbed and analyzed, and the unstructured maybe needs to have a look taken and have a look taken at it and work from there.
Okay, sort of, but the thing is that whenever we talk about structured data as such, okay, it means tabular data, data that is there in rows and columns as such. Okay, so for example, let me just quickly show you. So any data, for example, I'm just opening my Excel. Okay, this
Can I
data
add
that
a
you see.
brief?
Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please,
When-
please.
So I understand that you said structure has rows and columns.
Mhm.
Does what the data itself,
Hmm.
when I think of structure, does that mean there's like a specific age group or like specific like number that is being kept track of?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
Okay.
not. Structured data in general, okay, structured data means it is tabular data. It is in the table format. Okay, it has rows, which are these rows that we say. Okay,
Mhm.
each and every rows are also called as records as such. Okay, in the data analytics world. So these are the rows, or these are also called as records. And the tabular or the structured data should have columns as well. So these are different columns as such. Okay. So
Okay.
this is what is called as structured data. It can be any type of data. Okay. It might not be a clean data. It might be a raw data as such. But any data that is in this format, in a table format that has rows as well as columns, is called it as a structured data. And most of the analysis, 99% of the analysis and the analytics with the various tools that we do is primarily on the structured data itself. Okay.
Are you showing your screen?
Yes, I'm showing a screen. I'm showing the Excel.
Can everybody see it? I can't see it.
Okay. Let me just
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, I can see it.
I see it.
Can you just check once, or if you can just exit and rejoin once again, if that works?
Okay. I will. Let's see.
Just check. Yes, somebody has their hand raised. You can please go ahead.
Yes, hi. So the structured data you said looks like the rows and tables, right? So how would the unstructured data would look like?
Yeah. I'm coming to that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And the structured data and clean data is different, right?
Yes. Absolutely, it is different. Structured data means only raw data that is coming in. There might be a lot of error over here. Let's say that I just remove these records. Okay. It's not editing. Okay, let me just cancel this. Okay, so let's say I just remove these records, and order ID, order date should be a mandatory field. Okay. Still, this is structured data. Okay, which has a lot of errors and all that is there. But any data, any anonymous data as well. Okay, which is in the format of rows and columns, that is called as structured data. Simple. Okay. Any data that has rows and columns in a tabular fashion, that is called as structured data. Okay. Yes, Zara, you can go ahead, please.
I think someone's audio in the background is on, and I think it's Rodolfo Diaz. I can hear your sound.
Yes, guys, if you can please mute yourself. Okay, no worries. I'll just. Okay. Yes. Okay. Is this clear? Any doubts? Any questions over here?
I missed the brief explanation, but I do see the columns and yeah.
Okay.
I see the
Okay,
table.
great. So this table as such, okay, which has rows. Rows are also called records as such, okay, and columns. These are called the columns. A, B, C, D, E are called columns, okay. Any data that is represented in the rows and in the columns part as such, okay, through rows and columns, that is called as structured data, okay. And again, 99% of the times we actually work and we actually do analysis on top of structured data itself. Okay. Yes, Chetali, you can go ahead, please.
I have not related to the structured data, but I have a question. The data analysts, the role which we have. So what is the role of, what kind of job would that include in maximum part, like 90%? Is it like taking this raw data and then cleaning it and putting it to like in a presentable visualization form, or what would be the role if there's a data analyst role we are looking for? What is
Yes.
the basic responsibility or the core job, what will be doing the maximum amount of time?
Okay, okay. This is a very good question, and I'll be talking about, or let me just talk about all the different roles that we have over here. Okay. Again, all the roles are very, very important, and all of them have their own different type of roles and responsibilities over here. Okay. So I would usually use Paint for all my explanation, and my handwriting is really bad. So please,
That's
don't
okay.
mind. Okay. Okay, before going ahead, let's discuss this as such, okay? Because I do understand this is very important. Anyways, I would be like going ahead and talking about this, but let me just talk about this in brief now, okay?
Yeah,
And if
so
you have
like
any
basically
questions,
from out of this course, which we will be doing by end of the course, what all like roles we can go for, and what roles and responsibilities would individual meet? So I need little clarity on like what
yeah,
are
absolutely.
things. Yeah,
Okay. So let's understand all the different rules that is actually there in the data space. So I'll be talking about data space in general, okay? And of course, all these things would be covered in the entire module that we will be going ahead, okay?
okay.
So the first role that we have that comes into picture is the data engineer. Data engineering role, okay? And I have a lot of data engineers that is working with me, okay? So what is the role of a data engineer, okay? And people who actually want to crack data engineering role, okay? So data engineering role is basically, firstly, it is technical role. Okay. These people are mostly are responsible to create the entire data architecture that we call. Okay, I'll be introducing to the data architecture. So basically what comes in data architecture is from source, right? Let's say the source part to your transformation. Let's say this is the transformation, okay? To your, let's say, visualization. And I'll be showing you a live project that we are doing, that I had done over the few years, how the data architecture basically works. Okay, the entire creation of end to end, and by the way, this is quite technical, right? Because from the source part, you need to create pipelines. This we call as data pipelines. I'll be talking this in detail. Okay, going ahead. Transformation, which will require script, and usually we use SQL scripts, and your visualization, okay, which is Power BI. Apart from visualization, we also have one thing, which is forecasting. Okay, forecasting. And this is done by a normal forecast, or we also use ML and AI over here. Okay. But they won't go ahead, and usually data, when we call about data engineers, right? So the data engineers as such, okay, will go ahead and do all of this, okay, and they will be getting the entire data, okay. They will be doing the understanding the data, okay. They will be building all the calculations that I want, okay. But if you go ahead and tell him or tell her, right? So can you tell me what this data is saying all about? They will say that, sorry, I am data engineer, I have no clue about it. What is the data? What is the data? It is only told to me that take the data from the source, put it in a server, okay, on an online or an offline server, right? And pull some of the data and build certain calculations which was already given to me. So I have built the calculations. That is my role, and I don't know anything. Then I ask them, okay, so what is your expertise? They say that I'm expert in a lot of tools, right? I'm expert in CI/CD, creating CI/CD pipelines. I'm expert in monitoring the entire server, whether it is correct or not. I'm expert in writing SQL code, and I have also good understanding of creating visuals, but not so much in AI/ML, which is Python or R scripting. Okay, these are the expertise of a data engineer.
So when we say visualization, creating visuals, they also have like expertise in some kind of visualization tool like Tableau or Power
Yes,
BI.
exactly. But
Okay.
the thing is that majority of data engineers don't have that much expertise. Okay, but it is,
But
see,
they use it.
the roles nowadays, it is little bit interlinked as such, what I would say. Okay, so
Okay.
but the thing is that like even data engineers, very good question. Data engineers should not have a good understanding in the visual part, but nowadays they are actually excelling and using visuals as well. Okay, and I'll be
And
telling who uses. Okay, yes, please.
what is the T in the middle?
This is transformation. Okay, this is the
Transformation.
server. Yeah, this is the server. Okay, which is an online, which is a cloud server, or an offline, which is a, like, let's say, an organization specific server. Okay, so I'll be talking about data architect in general. Okay, the data architecture.
Okay.
But is this clear? Any doubts? Any questions over here?
So primarily the data engineer will get some kind of a raw data source and they will be processing that data.
Yes, absolutely. They will be processing the entire data. Absolutely.
Okay.
Or an offline, which is a, like, let's say, an organization. Sorry, I'm hearing a lot of noise. Any questions? Anyone? Any doubts? Okay. Any more questions over this role? Any more doubts?
One more question. In the expertise, you said that they will be doing the CI/CD pipelines. So, like, will they be working on GitHub and creating workflows there?
Yes,
or,
yes, yes.
Through
Absolutely.
code?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In, like,
They will be
code
working-
level?
Yes, on a code level. On a code level. Right? On a code
Okay.
level.
So usually, actually, I will give a brief introduction on my end. I used to work as a developer previously. Like I have a gap of 6 to 7 years now, and so now I took a little bit of course on vibe coding, and
Okay.
I got to know like little bit development kind, and from that we do GitHub and create workflows in GitHub from the code through the terminal. So I'm trying to relate.
Sorry. Which
CI
terminal? VS Code, or which terminal did you use?
Through anti-gravity or VS Code also we can do. I tried through anti-gravity.
Okay. Mhm.
So when you say from source we are doing the CI/CD pipeline, so the data engineer, will he be using such kind of tools and doing? He won't be doing coding, right? He will just do the CI/CD pipelines, or how it is.
Okay. So the thing is that when you actually use this server, right? Okay, we
Okay.
will be using the GitHub and the GitLab as such. Okay, because we need to push in the repo, and of course it's a versionizer tool, so we need to pull the proper version as such. Okay.
Okay.
I hope you understand this. I think so.
Yeah.
This is already being covered, right? Okay.
Okay.
So the thing is that they would be using Git as such, and Git is a primary tool to actually put everything, because of course you are not only the only coder, there will be other coders as well, and they also need to use the repo parallelly as such. Okay, the data engineer is very much proficient in doing the transformation. Let's say I get a raw data, I need to, let's say I have the data of HR plus ops as such. Okay, for example. Okay, now the data engineer understands this and will segregate the entire data into two tables, one for HR and one for ops. And to do this, there are different ways. Okay, one of the way is using SQL. Okay, structured query language as such in the server side. Okay, and we have we have Oracle, we have MySQL, we have a lot of other scripting language, but he or she is the person who will be using this particular code to do the transformation. Once the transformation is done, to put those tables. So let's say you have a bigger table and you're creating smaller table, right? HR and ops. So you need to push this again. He or she will be pushing in the Git, right? And making several branches. I think so. This, I'm not going into too much detail as such.
Yeah.
Right. So he or she is responsible for doing the changes and putting in the, let's say, development branch or in the UAT branch or such and so branch. Okay. But he or she has the expertise, of course, to create the pipeline. Okay. The pipeline can be created through automatic connectors or API, REST API calls. And he or she has the expertise to do the transformation or to write the script. This is only this script, and then to push it in Git. That's it. That is the most the data engineers will do. Okay. Of course, nowadays some data engineers are also like my team is good in the visualization aspect also, but I don't expect the data engineers to do it. Okay, who will do it?
So-
I will be talking later. Okay. Yes.
Okay. That role is different.
That role is different.
Visualize.
It's absolutely different. Okay, and I'll be telling you, I was interviewing, so I also interview for like not only my organization, so several organizations as well to get the perfect candidates, and I'll tell you what type of like questions do I ask, what do I expect from a certain role. So all these things also I'll be telling you. Okay.
Okay.
But a very valid question. Okay. Okay. So this is first is data engineers. Okay. Next role, if I guess many of you have heard a lot of it, which is called as data scientists. Okay. So can anybody tell me who are data scientists and what do they do? What is this role all about?
I think, I'm not sure, but data scientists might be primarily working more into machine learning and trying to the data which they get.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Can I
Do machine
Can-
learning and AI and trying to
Yes.
do something new out of it, and
Okay. Okay.
training the models and such.
Okay. Okay. Yes, somebody else wanted to go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to say that the data scientist interprets the data sets, collects, cleans, and helps the company with decision making.
Yes, of course they do that. That is one of the role, but their primary role, right? Primary role is to actually understand data, okay, and implement AI ML algorithm. These people are expert in either Python and mostly Python, right? I'll be talking about where is Python used and where is R used. Okay, my company like uses both the things. I use Python and my fellow colleagues use R, and I will tell you R. And what in Python and R? Basically libraries in Python and R. So what are libraries? Libraries are, you can think of it, it is as a folder which contains a lot of predefined functions, predefined code snippets to use so that your life becomes much easier. Okay. Machine learning is all about prediction. Okay. If I want to predict, okay, from what has already happened, historical data, I want to predict the future as such. That is the ML part that we call, okay, which is called as machine learning. Okay. So data scientists basically use Python and R to, of course, do all the things, which is understanding the data, data cleaning, and then implement libraries to do analysis on top of it. Okay. They're expert in Python, they're expert in R, and with the help of these programming languages, they implement and they understand and interpret data. Okay. And basically their job is forecasting or data prediction. Data prediction. Okay.
So
And
they will be they're primarily like this is also would be a technical role, and they will be coding
yes,
most
yes.
of the part.
Yes, this is a heavy technical role as such, okay, which involves understanding of Python as well as not only Python. Python is a simple language. It is not that complicated like C#, Java, and all, right? It is very simple, syntactically very simple, but it includes a lot of libraries like NumPy, Skeleton, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, right? So these are SkyPy. So these are some of the most important libraries that is there in ML, okay? I'm not even talking about the Gen AI LLM models and all. Okay, that is a whole kind of different story. Okay, so those people are called AI ML engineers as such. Okay, I'll be talking about them separately. Okay, but let me just primarily focus on the other part. Okay, which is the predictive analytics. Okay, so it is heavy coding based, heavy technical, and you should be well versed with Python. Okay, and the libraries that is used, it is just like you don't use Excel at all. You basically import all the data and you put it and you script it with the help of Python. You do modifications, you do everything, and you do predictive analytics with the help of Python itself. Okay, you do end-to-end with Python. Okay, that is what is the data science role. Okay, any questions, any doubts over here? Okay. So the next role that is there is the data analyst. Now, the main role of data analyst is to basically understand. So again, let me write this, and I'll be talking about this data architect and I'll show you a real-time data architecture as well, okay? Which is the source, the transformation, as well as the visualization, okay? Which is, let's say, Power BI. Okay. So the data analyst person should know about what is going on over here. Okay, what type of transformations and everything is going on, what type of data that we actually are getting, and what type of transformation. But he or she is not responsible for building it. He or she is only and only responsible for understanding. Let's say I'm getting HR data. I'm getting operations data, right? And I'm getting some information that, okay, I need total head count. I need the attrition rate. Okay, number of people who are leaving, right? I understand that, okay, these are the business requirements as such. and I am the person who will be implementing the Power BI visualization or Tableau or any type of visualization as such. So this is primarily the role of data analyst. Okay, data analyst, firstly, he or she should understand what type of transformation is going on and what tables are we getting at the end of the day. Okay, this person understands the data and understands the requirement as such that is being given, and it is, I will just say that, okay, I want attrition percentage. Okay, so it is his or her responsibility to understand, okay, attrition means people who are leaving, leavers, divided by the total headcount, let's say on a 1 month rolling basis. Okay, this should be the formula to get exactly what is the attrition rate. So he or she is absolutely clear about this, uses his or her brain and gives this information, understands this information, and then puts it in Power BI. Okay, this role is called as the data analyst role.
Okay, so data analyst will be responsible for all the visualizations which needs to be done and given. Like.
Not only
So,
that. Yes, please go ahead.
Will they be getting the source, or will the
Yes,
data
yes.
engineer provide them the
Data engineers, so there is a coordination. Data engineers will tell that, okay, so you are a data analyst, for example, right? You should know everything. You should know this entire data architecture. Okay, you should know the entire data architecture. Okay, you should know what are the different sources. Okay, you should know what are the transformation. You will not write the SQL code. That is not your job. But you know that, okay, the raw data is coming in certain format. They are removing the data. They're doing these transformation. And that is how I am getting 3 different tables as such. So you should have a complete understanding, and you should have an understanding of what that table is. What are the different columns? What story do they say? So you have an understanding of the entire story of the data. And that is how you are able to create, right? If I'm telling you that, okay, I want attrition percentage, how will you understand that, okay, that it should be levers by total headcount? Because you know the data, what it is. You know the story behind the data. You know everything, you know the source, each and everything. You know transformation, what is being doing. You know what type of data you are getting and how to use that data. So that is called a data analyst, analyzing the entire data end to end.
Okay, so when on a daily basis, like when a data analyst is a work is given to a data analyst, so will he be given, like, give the iteration of so and so thing from this, or will they get a source file or a structured file, and then they have to check on the story? How will it be?
Okay, this is a very broader question. Okay, let me just simplify it a little bit. Okay. So, okay, just hold on to this thought. I will be introducing one more role, and then I'll be talking about everyone, what they do. Okay, how the entire structure works. Okay, that basically comes in the life cycle as well. So I'll be talking about that.
But primarily, they will be working more into that Power BI and the visualization.
On the visualization, on the last aspect, on the visualization.
Okay, so there has to be an expertise of Power BI at least.
Yes, of course, they have to be not only Power BI, there is Power BI, there is Tableau, there is ClickSense. I have worked on all the 3, and all the 3 are really very good, depending upon the what like tool the organization is using. But not only that, they should be expert in understanding the data. They know in and out what the data says.
Wait, before we move on, could I ask you, did you mention the word attrition? Is that what I understood?
Attrition, yes, attrition rate.
Attrition rate, okay. How do I pronounce your name?
Okay, you can, it is Sauradeep, but you can just call me Deep. That would be okay.
Deep, okay.
D-E-E. Okay, Deep, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Any more questions? Any more doubts over here?
I have one small doubt. Like, when you say understanding, the data analyst should have a good understanding of the data. So when we say good understanding of the data, what data will he get to understand that? Or maybe I'll hold that thought.
Okay, no worries. So I can just tell you that. For example, I have given you this data set. Okay. As a data analyst, you should understand, okay, this is orders table, I guess. Orders table has order ID. Order ID is very unique to each and every record. There is no duplication as such. Order ID, this is the row ID. Order ID, I think so there is duplication. So I think so there is 2 order IDs as such. This column talks about order date. That means this might be the date when the customer has placed an order. Okay, I do understand this. This is the date field that I have. And it might be that there might be 2 orders that is placed with the same order ID as such. Shipping date, when this order was shipped. So which customer has bought it and what mode did they actually buy it? So what was the customer name? Which segment do they belong to? And which country do they belong to? And in the country, which city and state do they belong to? Where is this particular order getting posted as such? Which region? And how much amount sales did they make? Each and everything a data analyst should know.
So the data analyst will be working off these kind of sheets.
This is just an
this
example.
table.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm just on a day-to-day basis. I'm just trying to
On a
analyze it.
day-to-day basis.
They will,
Exactly.
they will
exactly.
be working on these kind of data, right? Okay.
Exactly. So the thing is that if I say that, okay, do we have quantity column in the data? Data analyst will say, yes, we do have. I know where it is, which table it is, and what type of insights can be drawn upon. That a data analyst will say. Okay. Same thing if I say data engineer, that do you know quality? He or she might say that actually I don't know, but I did transformations on these tables. So you can check on the 3 tables that I did transformation as such. But I don't know about the data much because I'm just aware and I just do the transformations as such. That's it. So that is the difference.
Okay. And do the data analyst also need to have a good expertise on SQL?
Not required. Not required.
Okay.
But the data analyst should have a conversation with, or the data engineers will basically state that, okay, we are doing this type of transformation and this is how the end result is coming out. Okay, that understanding a data analyst should know from the data engineers.
Okay.
Okay, but in general, if you ask me, data analyst also has a good understanding of your SQL as well. Okay, see, nowadays all the rows are interchangeable, right?
Right.
You even ask any person with, okay, a data analyst as such. Okay, data analyst is also doing the role of data engineers also. Okay, they are only
Okay.
creating the pipeline and everything. Okay, but
Okay.
there is a clear segregation. Okay, what role is actually required? Okay, might be that if you land up in any organization, 90% of the role is understanding the data, creating visuals. But 10% also might be that, okay, can you go ahead and change the SQL code over here? We are not getting the correct data. That might also be the situation.
Okay. So it is good to have skill, to have the good knowledge of SQL.
Yeah, absolutely. SQL is the primary thing. Even if you have only SQL knowledge, you will land up in a lot of roles. You will get data analyst as well as data engineer roles. Only with SQL. Only with SQL.
Only
That is
with
that's
SQL.
what we do.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, great. And lastly, one of my favorite, I have worked in 3 years over here. Okay. And the best area to be in, to be frank, which is called as business analyst. Yes, many of you have heard this term. Business analyst. So can you tell me who is a business analyst as such, and how is this role different? Any thoughts about this? And I'm sure most of you would prefer this role as such. Okay.
In my knowledge, what I know is like business analyst usually communicates with the client or the stakeholders and try to get the requirement from them and then communicate and coordinate with their team developers or the next team lead maybe what is the exact requirement and pass it on. I mean, I am thinking maybe in the development side because my experience was in that end. But a BA role usually they will communicate with the client and try to get what is their requirement and then pass it on to the team. Communicate with both teams, like the client and the development side.
Yes,
in data, I don't know how it works.
No, absolutely. So if you take any BA roles, right, it is almost the same. Okay. So a BA or a business analyst that we call about, right, is the person who actually talks to the client, okay, gets the requirement, okay. He or she is used for requirement analysis, and we'll be talking about all these things going ahead, okay. Requirement analysis, okay. How does requirement analysis come? So let's say I'm the client as such, okay, and I'll tell you that Deep, actually we have a lot of project related data, finance related data, and I can't understand how much revenue that we are creating, what is our cost, what are the different type of costs that we have, okay, and what is the profit that we are making on a on an overall level on different business units as such, right, on a monthly basis. So I am very confused. I don't know how to track these informations. There is so much data that we are collecting, but I don't know like how to track these information, how to get insight from it. Okay. As a business analyst, you come in and you say that, okay, first you tell me what is your problem. So first thing I understand that you have revenue. So let me just collect the revenue. Okay. Now can you tell me what are the different type of costs that you incur? So she will say that he or she will say that, okay, the cost is firstly the fixed cost, which is the employee cost that we have, the employee's salary. Then we have the other miscellaneous costs like office space cost we have. Then other miscellaneous that, okay, let's say if there is other different type of cost allocated. So that is that we have, right? And there is a lot of project that is there, which is we have a forecasting that we'll get these type of, so that this is something that we have. So he or she will, the business analyst will go ahead, okay, I do understand this. So if I give these type of insights to you and these type of visuals, will it be sufficient for you to understand? He or she may say, yeah, I think so, that will be sufficient. So can you just give me a broad idea of what kind of visuals or what kind of information can you get me? So I will just have a formal conversation, okay, note down everything that is required. And what I'll be doing is, let's say that I create a, let's say a PPT or if any other format, right? We have a lot of like Miro boards and all. Okay, I'll be introducing that tool also. Okay, that is a tool where you can collaborate with a lot of colleagues and create what we call it as a wireframe as such. Okay, wireframe to give to your client as what is actually possible with the data. So you are responsible to understand what the data is, okay, what the data is incoming, okay, with the help of the data, what are actually possible, and to create a wireframe out of it. Okay, these are possible, this we can do, and to communicate back to the client. Okay, once they are okay and they're happy with, yes, this is the exact kind of information that I require, you will pass it on to your data analyst or your DA person. And you will say that, see, this is a formal wireframe, okay, and this is the data, and this is how we want. Okay, the wireframe might have headcount, total headcount, attrition rate. Okay, it might have, let's say, for example, revenue per headcount. Okay, how much revenue per headcount is giving, some measures and matrix as such. Okay, the DA then will understand, okay, this is the data. These are the columns that I would require, and these are the formulas that I would require to come up with these visuals as such. Now, of course, it is not that, okay, as a DA, I am I am the most intelligent person, I will do everything end to end. No, it is not that. You will collaborate with the BA person and make him or her understands, this is how I'm getting this data. Of course, you will also collaborate with data engineers in understanding that, okay, this is the correct column or not. For example, I'll just give you a very simple example. There are several columns of project end date for us, right? Some we were getting correct, some we were not getting correct, right? So, of course, the DA person has to go ahead, and if we are not using the correct the column as such, okay, so I asked the DA person that, okay, I'm not getting the updated end date as such. Even then, even when we had a change order or the project end date was changed as such, I'm still getting the previous stale order date as such. Okay, so the DA person was telling me, okay, I'm using the project end date. Then we came to know with the help of data engineer as well that, okay, there is one more column that they have introduced, that they got it from the source. And then the DA person was like, okay, I'll tell the data engineers to update it. Okay, and then we are getting the correct information. Okay. So that is how the business analyst basically work. And again, to be very, very frank nowadays, the data engineers, data analyst, and BA is no more separate. Of course, this is the perfect separation. And whenever these roles comes in, there, if you see the entire JD as such, okay, the job description, right? Majorly, it will talk about these things, okay. But once interviewed, right, or let's say that you are a BA, but you also know about the data architecture, the SQL as well, this will be an added advantage. Okay, that will always be there. But all in all, these are the specific segregations that we have.
I have a question here. Like, if someone applies for BA role without any prior experience, like me, so having a knowledge of having an experience of data engineer or data analyst will they give a preference to those, or like having a knowledge of a little bit is enough?
Yes,
What they're looking for, like exactly
exactly,
because
right?
data engineer and data analyst role, I could figure out that there are technical expertise which we need, right? Like CI/CD pipelines for data engineers, for data analyst, at least one tool, Power BI or a Tableau, whichever is. If their expertise, that job description, that part they are fulfilling that technical aspect. So for business analyst, what core expertise you will need for that? Like all the knowledge of this plus better communication with the client, like that.
So the thing is that, and I'll be talking about those as well. So first of all, as a BA, right, I will be asking you, so which is a framework that you usually follow to take the requirements, and what are the different tools through which you take the requirements, understand the data, and how do you communicate with your development team, right? This is the question that I would be asking to a business analyst. And the business analyst might have a different tools as such. Okay, I'll be introducing to one of them, okay, which is called as design thinking methodology. I love this methodology. I'm using this for a while, and this is simply great. Okay, there are different type of modifications to that, but this is a tool that I like. Okay, so the BA person should be first of all, and of course, if you are a DA person, data analyst, right, you can specifically modify your answers, right? If you are analyzing the data as such, and you can specifically go ahead and say that, yes, I was the only person who was interacting with the client as well, and understanding what kind of requirement, and doing a requirement analysis on top of it, and understanding how to basically present it, and how to go ahead and communicate with my data engineering team, and to build a project end to end. So I was the person who was building the data architecture as well.
Okay.
That is how we actually tell. Okay.
But what will be the day-to-day activity of a data business analyst? Then he will be communicate with the clients and coordinating with the team. That is his role, or will he be doing some technical aspect as well?
Of course, sir, as I have told you, right, it is a plus if you have technical expertise, but BA person won't do any technical expertise. He or she is only and only responsible for understanding what type of course, there are different roles as well. Okay. For example, he or she also plays the roles of project manager or a scrum master. Okay. Delegating the type of work, right, to the team. Let's say that there are different type of works that is there. Okay. Assigning different type of tickets, bug issues as such. Okay. I usually use Jira as well as I use Azure DevOps. So that is a ticketing tool through which I understand, okay, this data is not coming correctly. So I need to put that to the data engineer and tell them, please figure it out. And of course, I'll give timelines and everything, right? So this in general, what a BA person basically does. Okay, he or she is not responsible, but it's an added advantage if you have understanding to create Power BI report, for example, or to understand SQL. You don't need to implement, right? For example, of course, currently since I'm heading the department, I actually have a complete team, right? But I have my Claude code, right? And I can understand exactly where the implementation should be. Data engineers didn't give me the access to even implement. Okay, I have a read access to the server, but I can say that I think so. This is the SQL part that is being that needs to be changed, and this is how it should be changed. If you have those expertise as such, you are a player in the team, right, people will most prefer your understanding.
But
Okay,
to
you
get
might-
that understanding, you should have an experience in DE or DA, right?
Sorry?
But to get that core understanding, we should have at least a little bit of experience working as a DE or a DA,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. As a data engineer and a data analyst. This is how you actually grow in the organization. Data engineer
Got it.
will
Okay.
become data analyst, will become business analyst,
Okay.
will become engagement manager, senior engagement manager, and director of data analytics and head of data analytics. That is how the
Why
value-
I'm asking this question is like,
Yeah.
if I'm starting my career suddenly with something new role, going to business analyst won't suffice because I should have a prior knowledge of either a DE or a DA, right? That's
Yeah. Absolutely. So,
So my path of career should go either through DE or through DA.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Okay. So these are the basic 4 roles over here. Okay. We also have one more role. Okay. I won't go ahead too much into this, which is AI/ML engineer. AI/ML engineer, we call them.
And you have these 5 in the slide, right? That you'll give to us at the end of the day?
Sorry, I don't think so. This is there in this slide, but I'll be giving you the slide with this. Okay. Let me just modify
Okay.
this. Okay. And I'll be giving you. Okay. So AI/ML engineers are not only proficient in ML and AI. I'll be talking about these terms in detail, okay, but not as of now. Into deep learning and neural networks. Okay, as well as Gen AI, which is basically LLM implementation, which is large language implementation. Okay, and this is a heavy you can say a very technical and Python heavy code like role as such. Okay, and this is basically a lot of research work. Okay, this is not a complete implementation end to end. This is a lot of like hit and trial research work basically. Okay. Of course, we are not targeting AI/ML engineers as such. Okay, apart from once you have AI/ML, okay, with your data scientists, you can target AI/ML engineers, which has ML AI as well as deep learning in it. Okay, but not too much into Gen AI. Okay, but we can target these 4 as such. Okay, data engineers, data science, data analysts, as well as business analyst. Okay.
After completion of this entire course, we can target in any
Yes.
of these 4 roles. That's
Any
what
of
you
these.
said.
Exactly. And as you know, my favorite is business analyst, right? So can you tell me why if I say my favorite as such, and if you just see the trajectory as such, okay, the most liked will be business analyst. Okay, so the thing is that first of all, let me just tell you, okay, and of course, if you work in an industry, you can get these things, you can have an understanding of this, right? Whatever is the front end, that actually sells, right? That is the motto, basically, right? Data engineers are the back-end work. Whatever we are doing in the data, in the back-end work and all, no stakeholder or no client can actually see that, question that, or have like visibility that we call over there. Okay. Data analyst. Okay. On the other hand, of course, there will be a visibility, but he or she is directly interacting with the BA person, not with the client as such, because they don't know how to give an impact. Let's say that I can see the attrition rate going down, but I know the formula. I know the attrition rate is going down, but what from there? Business analyst can understand the data, can give business insights that I see the attrition rate going down, and it's been going down for 3 months. So is there any formal changes that we did? And why aren't we able to retain our employees as such? So what is the cause? So he or she will also do the cause analysis, right? And that gives more understanding, more visibility when you actually put up proper causes, proper insights, and you are able to make strategies out of it, right? And that is why the favorite role, if you say, is a business analyst, gets proper visibility, gets proper understanding of the business as such, okay? And of course, it's a front-facing job, right? Which is a client or a, you can say, stakeholder facing. Okay.
Okay. So Deep, I would guess like business analyst will mostly be having calls with the clients and like on a
Yeah,
day-to-day
yeah,
basis,
of course. Yeah,
engaged with meetings and with the team, either with the team or with the
both,
client.
with the team as well as the client. Okay.
Okay.
First with the client to get an understanding, then with the team to convey that understanding. Okay. For example, the data engineers, data analysts won't understand the business terms and all, right? So you need to convey in a, like, let's say, so you are the medium, basically. I forgot to say that you are the medium to translate business terms to technical terms, back from technical terms to the business terms to your clients. So that is how it is.
Okay.
Okay.
And I got one more question. So like in development side, usually like we give deadlines and we get the deadlines basically, and like so and so. And sometimes if something goes wrong, you have late night calls going on, all those things. So in these roles, in data analyst or data engineer role, like do we have like, we have to sit and fix the bug suddenly? And is there something like that, or it's completely different? Like
No, of course. See, the thing is, like, it depends from organization to organization, but of course, anything that we do has a deadline. Okay. And all these roles that we are seeing over here, right? All the 4 roles, okay, has proper deadline for implementation, because there are a lot of critical things that is going on. For example, let me just give you a simple example. Okay. Currently, we have something called as the financial recall as such. Okay, where we reconsider all the finances. Okay, and that should be done in the first month or the first week of the month. It cannot be later than that, because then we start to implement some other, like some other work as such. Okay, sometimes it becomes too much crucial where there is a bug that came in, and that is already the mid of the week, right, of the first week, and we need to finish it off by Friday. So we, of course, need to sit down. Okay, all the people in all the roles, including me. Okay, so even I handle all the BAs as such. Okay, I also need to sit with the entire team as such, figure out what the issue is, and then only go ahead as such. Okay, so that is how it is. Okay, of course, for each and everything, because this is time crucial. Okay, it becomes very time crucial because the data is being consumed one or the other way in several of the business units or the stakeholders or the clients as such. Okay, and the client relies on the data. Okay, you cannot give falsified data and all. Okay, or error data, or your downtime, you are having a downtime of your server. Okay, that is not acceptable. Okay, it might be a 1-day delay, but if there is a stringent deadline, you need to finish it off at any cost.
okay. And will there be like deployments, like in development side we have deployments, there will be a downtime, and there is a specific time in which usually it is in the evenings, where they do because during the daytime the clients will be, or the users will be using the application. So the deployments are usually done on the late hours, or when the user is not using.
Yes, so
such kind of deployments will be there in a data engineer role, or
yes, absolutely. No, absolutely. So for example, like you do any type of, so for example, okay, let me just give you this example. Okay, so let's say that you have, or let me just take this. Okay, so let's say you have, for example, let me just go to the people. Let's say that today, like, or yesterday, this data came in. Okay, now yesterday there were 2 more people that have been added on, right? For example, 2 more people have been added on. Okay, so this data should come in, right, by today. So because yesterday this data came in, and there is a daily refresh that is going on, right? So this data should be available before I wake up and I see, because these 2 entries were made yesterday late night, and there's a refresh in the server. So from the source, it is pulling the new data as such. Let's say this data is very critical, because there's a very critical, like, let's say, customer or a client, and has a huge valuation. And there is something wrong over here. And today I was expecting a very high revenue. I was very excited that, okay, today I'll be expecting a high revenue. And this data didn't come in at all in the refresh, right? every day morning, let's say morning 5 a.m. IST, the refresh happens. There was a refresh failure. This didn't come at all. People log in by 9 a.m., right? And I log in at 8 a.m. and I'm not seeing the data. So that's a panic thing, right? I have to showcase the data today and the data is not available, right? So again, we need to figure out, the data engineers will log in, the data engineers will see monitor the bugs as such, figure out where the issue is, and then come up with a thing that, okay, this is where the issue is, and then fix it. Okay. So this thing happens. Okay. This thing, absolutely it is there. Okay. They need to change, they need to modify, okay, or they need to check where the issue is. Once the issue is done, they need to put in the Git and rerun the entire server so that the server then pulls the correct data. Okay, that is what we call as the deployment. Okay, so that is of course there. That is there in any project that you take in. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Okay, it's been a while. Let's quickly take a break of 10 minutes. Okay, so I'll put a timer of 10 minutes and post 10 minutes. Let's continue with the conversation. Post the break, we will be dealing with understanding the data architecture, right? So the entire data architecture, and also I'll be showing you a live format of a data architecture. Okay, after explaining you, okay, how it looks like in general. Okay, what are the different type of areas and how do we transform the data? Okay. So since we talked about a lot of data architecture, let's check that. And then we'll be talking about the like the life cycle, okay, and a tool or a technique or a requirement analysis that usually is considered as one of the best in the industry. Okay. Great. So let's quickly take a break of 10 minutes and let's come back. Okay. Hey, hi everyone. Okay, so let's continue with our discussion. Okay. So any doubts, any questions before we move ahead? Okay. Okay, so we left at identifying the structured data. So as you understand, these type of data, okay, which has rows and columns in it are the structured data basically. Okay. Unstructured data are, let's say, the data that is image as such, okay, the picture or audio data, right, or video, entire video that is being played. These are unstructured data, okay. And also, let's say, for example, if we have the data written in Word format, okay. For example, if I have written something like name, age, okay, let's say department, okay, I have written simply in the form of, let's say, in a Word format, okay, or in a PDF format as such, okay, proper data. But this data is also not in rows and columns format, okay, and it is in doc format, for example, right? This data is also called as unstructured data. So any data that is not in rows and columns as such is in general called as unstructured data. Okay. Hope this is clear. And any images, right? Any pictures, any audio is also called as unstructured data. Okay. And as you understand, it is not feasible to actually work on unstructured data, right? From an image, how much details can you get? Of course, you need to do a lot of transformation and all. Then you can actually understand and get the proper insight or data format, okay? But not in a very good quality or good method. Structured data has a proper way as such, proper structure as such, and can be queried and transformed in a proper format to do any analysis on top of it. Okay. And lastly, I think so this is not introduced. Let me just write it over here. I think so this is not modifiable. Versus semi-structured. Okay. I'm edited. Okay, no worries. This is also protected, I guess. Okay, later on I'll check this. Versus semi-structured. So can anybody tell me what is semi-structured? What do we mean by the term semi-structured? And how does it look like? Okay, so semi-structured is the data in which there is some structure in the in the data as such, okay, that can be transformed to a structured data, okay, which is not in rows and columns format, but can be converted to a rows and columns format. For example, JSON file. Okay, just let me just show you some example of JSON file as such. Just a minute. Yeah, just search some examples. Okay. Okay, let me just show you. Okay. So like JSON files as such. So if you see the data over here, employee details, employee name is Shubham, email as ksingh@gmail, job profile intern. Again, employee name Gaurav, email Gaurav Singh, okay, and job profile developer. Okay. So if you see over here, right, there is a table name kind of thing, and these are the column names exactly like we have over here. Right? If you see this, right, if you see this, Employee name, we can have an employee name over here. Okay. Email, we can have a column name called as email, and job profile, we can have the job profile as a column name. And these are the data, these are the records. So we can convert this into, which is not in a rows and columns, by the way, right? This is not in a rows and columns, by the way, but we can convert this kind of data into tabular fashion, into structured fashion as such. And this is a JSON file that we call. Okay. A JSON file is a semi-structured data. It is neither structured nor unstructured. Okay. This file is called as a semi-structured. Similarly, we also have HTML. Okay. Let me just show it right away over here itself. Okay. So HTML, let me just show you in a okay, I don't get a very over here, I guess. Okay, so if you see the HTML format also, it has a proper head, body. It has a style, which is border. Let's say we have the client as such, which is the header. Okay, and these are different inputs. Okay, iPad, number, 100 over here. Okay, spoon, tea, right? So this is the class. Basically, it is internal table. We have certain other class over here. Okay, both the classes are same. So over here, you can think of these are the column names and these are the numbers or the values inside it. Okay, this is the HTML format that we see. Okay, so the HTML format and as well as the JSON format are considered semi-structured, that can be converted into structured as such. Okay, so that is what is semi-structured. So if you have the data in semi-structured, of course, you can convert it in a structured format easily. Okay, but when you have unstructured data like document, images, files, so that is something that is not very well or cannot be converted that easily as such. Okay, clear? I hope this is clear. Any doubts, any questions, please do ask me. Okay. Okay, next we have something called as qualitative versus quantitative data. Okay, I think so by the name only you can get. In a structured data, or let's say a semi-structured data, we have qualitative as well as quantitative data. So over here, we have both qualitative as well as quantitative data. Okay, and whenever we talk in the data analytics world, we will be talking in this format itself. Okay, so these are the qualitative data, these are the quantitative data as such. Okay, so can you tell me, out of this entire data, this is the orders table that you see with several columns as such. Okay, there are a lot of columns over here. So which are the columns over here? As if you have an understanding or any guess, what are qualitative data out of it and what are quantitative data? Any guesses over here? Okay, so whenever we call as quantitative data, okay, quantity means how much. Okay, just remember this, how much, right? Quantity, okay, which is quantity means always numbers. Okay, so sales are numbers, quantity is numbers, discount is numbers, profit is numbers. So whatever data, right, that contains numbers in it are called as quantitative data. Okay, these data, the data that you see over here, sales, quantity, discount, profit, are called as quantitative data. Okay, the data in which you can actually ask the question how much as such. Okay, apart from that, these data that describe these quantitative data are called as qualitative data. Okay, that focuses on the meaning as such. Okay, I can ask that, okay, who was the customer that made a sales of $261 US? The customer name was Claire. So that is the information as such that you are getting, right? So the data that provides information for quantitative data is called as qualitative data. Okay, So qualitative data is basically the words or string values or character values that describe the data as such over here. Okay. Now a question to you. So you guys got to understand, right? So sales, quantity, discount are basically quantitative data that focuses on numbers, and I can create measures. Measures means what is the total sales? What is the total quantity? What is the total discount, right? What is the profit made on each quantity, right? Calculations, right? And these data basically describe these calculations. Okay, for example, which country did the highest sales? Okay, so I will be describing that yes, US did the highest sales. I'm describing the sales with the help of qualitative data. Okay, so now a question to you: is postal code over here a qualitative data or a quantitative data?
Quantitative data.
Okay,
No,
so
no, qualitative data.
Qualitative data, exactly right. Even though it is numbers, but this does not give me any measures. I cannot do what is the total postal code, what is the average postal code. We cannot do something like that, right? So we cannot create any calculations from it, but it can give me information. So the highest sales happened from this postal code, which belongs to this city, right? So even when, so people ask me this question sometimes that, okay, this is numbers. So usually the numbers are like quantitative, how much, but I cannot say how much for postal code, right? So that is not appropriate, right? So this is also qualitative data, even though this is numbers. But basically when you have numbers like this, it is your quantitative data. The other fields or like columns that describe these data are the qualitative. Okay. Clear over here? Any doubts, any confusions over here? I'll give a minute. If there is any doubts, any questions, please do ask me. Okay, great. Okay, next is we describe the 5 steps of data analytics life cycle, okay, at a high level. But before going to the 5 steps as such, first let's discuss the data architecture, okay. So let me just first explain you what is data architecture, and then let me pull up a live data architecture for you, okay. Or let me just pull both the things together. Okay, I would require this much, and just give me a minute. Able to paste it. Okay, just a minute. So I'm not able to paste it. Okay, that's okay. Just let me just snip it. Okay, let me just pull this also up, and side by side we'll be seeing this thing. So, gives so much problem and headache to put this anyways. Okay. Okay, so let's understand the data architecture as such, okay, in detail. And by the way, data architecture is the area where basically the data engineers will work, but all the other roles that we were discussing, right? The data analyst, business analyst, okay, the data scientists, right? Everybody has a complete good understanding of the data architecture. Okay, everybody, it is one person who is building it, but what is going on, what not is going on, all the other roles should have a good understanding. Okay, otherwise the team wouldn't be able to function. Okay. Okay, by the way, let me tell you a very interesting thing. There is also a role called as data architect. Okay, data architect is a role that is most highest paid role as such, I think so, in the data analytics world. Of course, next to, you can say, next to, let's say, associate director in data analytics, head of data analytics, innovation. Okay, data architect is a person who actually has entire knowledge of like business analyst, data engineer, ML engineer, as well as your you can say data scientist as well. Okay, a person who has end-to-end understanding of all the roles as such can implement a project end-to-end as such, including getting the information from let's say client as such, understanding implementation of the entire architecture or the framework as such, implementing the entire data architecture end-to-end. Okay, and like publishing, like let's say deployment, publishing, and doing the maintenance is called a data architect as such.
So,
Okay.
Having the knowledge, but what, like, he will be performing all those tasks of all the roles, or will
All
he
the roles end to end. All the roles.
that one person will be doing all the tasks?
Yes, that one person will be doing all the tasks. Not he or she might not be doing all the tasks, but for example, data engineer team is there, right? He or she will tell that, okay, in this particular SQL, this needs to be changed. Please go and change this. If you can't do it, I will do it. Something like that. Or sometimes data engineers won't know. He or she will go and do the changes. The data architect. Okay.
But
And
he
that
will
is-
be involved in all the activities which will be performed in each section.
Each section end to end. He has, he not only has, he will also be involved in building, right? Also in deployment, and also like you can say that this guy is the you can say end-to-end person as such, who can deploy anything. If nobody is there in the team, if this person is there in the team, he will take care of everything as such. He does
Okay.
not need
Not
to
just
rely on
coordinating, but actually doing it.
not just coordinating, actual implementation.
Okay.
Actual implementation. This usually requires experience of, let's say, 15 to 20 years plus.
Okay.
Okay, because to have such expertise, and this person is not only expert in one tool, is expert in various tools as such. Okay, you give him or her any tool, he or she will be an expert over them. Okay, because data architect are required to have understanding of a lot of tools, okay, which different industries actually work on. Okay, and one of the most sorted and the highest paying job as such. Okay. Great. Okay, so that is all about the data architect role. Okay, so first let's understand what is a data architecture in general. Okay, so I have also a side by side a real-time project. Okay, that is my project that I am working on. Okay, but let's understand that, and then I'll be showcasing this particular thing. Okay. Okay, so initially, and whenever we implement, so this again is done by the data architect, is done by the data architect, of course, that is done by the data architect, or it is done by the business analyst. So business analyst will understand that, okay, these are the tools or these are the sources these are the tools that I have, and this is where I will do the visualization. So he or she will be responsible, the business analyst will be responsible to create the entire data architecture, okay, and showcase to the customer or the client. Okay. Of course, as you can understand, right, any project requires a proper documentation. So this is a part of the documentation. Okay. Without these things, the project can't even begin. So the business analyst will create the entire documentation end to end. Okay. And the main part of this documentation is the data architecture. Okay, because there's a long documentation, people won't go ahead and see each and everything, right? If you are only showing this, and this is how we actually do it. Okay, if you see in the right hand side what I have. Okay, this is a live architecture that we have in place in our documentation. I have just snippet from there. Okay, so we actually showcase in this format, and this is very well perceived by the end user as such. Okay, but we need to explain, of course, what we are doing in each and every step. Okay, but since the client is a client, okay, the business client, he or she does not have an understanding of what technicalities that you are doing. Okay, that the data analysts and the data engineers will take care. Okay, but you should talk on a business perspective of what you are going to do. That's it. Okay, so let's understand that in detail. Okay. Okay. So the first thing that comes in a data architecture is the source, right? So you are actually having a lot of source. Let's say I have a lot of projects that is coming in place, right? So from where I'm creating a lot of projects, so I have a CRM system, for example, okay, a system where I collect all the data of the project, where the project is, which stage, whether it is in the proposal stage, or we got the project which is in the project closure stage, what is the valuation of the project, right? How much timeline did we get for the project? All this information, let's say we actually consume it in a very famous tool. For example, if you know, right, Salesforce is one of the most famous tool, right? Even Salesforce has a very famous visualization tool, which is called as Tableau. Tableau is basically owned by Salesforce, right? So let's say Salesforce is one of the tools through which I get my project related information. Okay. So the first part of the data architecture is the source. Okay, let's say this is Salesforce. Okay. So this is one of the two. Okay. Next, let's say there are new employees that are coming in, right? So I am managing all the income of the new employees. Which department are they into? Who are their line managers? Which business unit are they will be allocated to? Which is the client that they will be working on? What is the total cost to the company? Right? All this information. Let's say we actually put it in our HR system. Okay. HR system. Okay. So all the HR related information goes over here. Okay. Now let's say everybody is logging in 8 hours or 7.5 hours every day, right? And from the operations perspective, I need to understand, okay, every person is actually giving or attending all the timesheet details correctly, right? There is no defaulter as such. Somebody is going on long leave or unpaid leave. So I need to take track of that. If there is unpaid leave as such, or somebody went to a sabbatical, I need to inform to the HR that, okay, he or she has worked only for 10 days. Please only provide 10 days salary as no leave was applied as such. So all this information, for example, is coming in the timesheet portal in the operation side. Operations, okay. So these are the different type of, let's say, online tools that is available to us, okay, which needs to be feeded in, of course, to do certain type of analysis. Okay. Now let's say the finance team is saying me that Deep, I think so, there is some manual Excel or CSV format files that I have, and I need to analyze these as well. So I will tell that, okay, where do you have that file? So he or she might say that I have in my system. So I will say that, okay, I can't pull it from your system directly. Please put it in a OneDrive or a SharePoint server, okay, which is the most famous server. to put any flat file so that we can take the Excel directly. So let's say there is finance data that is coming from finance data. That's a flat file that is coming from SharePoint server. Okay. So let's say these are some of the sources from where I am procuring the data. Okay. And as you can understand, right, it is not only whenever we actually create any type of or do any type of project, it is not like it is not that we take the data only and only from one system, right? If you see over here, there are several systems through which we actually take the data. Okay. I hope this is clear. Any doubts, any questions, you may please ask me. Okay. Great. So these are all the data. As a data engineer, I understand, okay, these are the data that I have. Okay. So next, I need to actually give this data and I need to pull this data and I need to do transformations, because the HR system might ask me that, okay, there is a person called as, let's say, John, right? John basically will be allocated to XYZ project that is in Salesforce, right? So I need to map John's data in Salesforce as such. So how can I do it? And these are different data that is coming from different sources, right? You need to combine Salesforce data as well as HR data as well as operations, because this is the what we had here, timesheet, right? This is the timesheet data, right? So I need to check John's timesheet data as well, right? So I need this data to interact with the operations data as well as the finance as well, right? So I need all this data to combine as such. So where shall I combine it? I will be basically combining it, let's say, in a server. And let's say I use a cloud server over here. Cloud server. And let's say we have like Amazon cloud services, right? Google cloud services. We have Microsoft cloud services, which is called as Azure, right? So let's say I'm using Microsoft, okay? And I'm using Azure as such. And I am pulling the data as such, okay? I am pulling the data, all the data from here. I am basically pulling this data. Okay. Now, a very, very important thing, the pull that we are doing, right? The pull means I am taking the data and putting it in this server, can be done through, let's say, connectors. It has connectors over here. For example, connectors. Okay, connectors basically means that the server, when I log into Azure, Azure will have a pop-up. It will have a pop-up, or it will have a, let's say, a drop-down menu in which SharePoint is already available. And I will just write the SharePoint URL. I will copy paste the URL and put it over here in Azure, because Azure already has a connector, already has a connection available for SharePoint. So any SharePoint you can directly connect to Azure, for example. Okay, but Azure has that feature. But let's say Azure is now having a connection. Rest, there is no type of connection available over here. So we use APIs or REST APIs over here. Now, can you tell me what is an API? A very, very important term in the data analytics world. What is an API and what does an API basically do? I guess people who have already done vibe coding, they can talk a little bit about it. But just give me a vague understanding. What is an API?
Address? The
Uh,
address?
Okay, somewhat, but not totally, not totally.
In simple language, like it's like an interface which will help in retrieving the data and in putting in some format and giving connecting it to the server.
Yeah.
Or maybe like two software programs, like it helps two software programs to communicate and share data.
Okay, I mean, those are the like ChatGPT definitions, right? But yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it is basically a software through which two things are communicating, two programs are communicating. But remember one thing, right? APIs are of different format, right? So once you say that two softwares are communicating with each other, it has a different meaning, okay? Here also two things, for example, if you see two softwares as you told, right? So the source is actually communicating, or the source, let's say Salesforce is communicating with Azure, which is actually true. But what internally happens, right? That is what API does. So API, again, it is a communication through which we put the data from Salesforce to Azure. Okay, that is what his API is doing. Absolutely correct. But how does it do it? Basically, to tell in short, okay, all of you are right, but in general, right, whenever we talk about API in the data analytics world, it is like, let's say Salesforce is there. Salesforce is there, and Salesforce has a table. Let's say the table is project, and the project has this is the table name. And let's say it has something called as project ID. Okay. I will build a API, which is basically, this API will be basically like a mapping. And I'll be showing this everything to you. Okay. Probably we won't be doing the implementation as such, but I'll be showing you the APIs as well. Okay. This will do a mapping to, let's say in Azure, I need to create a similar type of project table and a field over here. Just a minute, please. And through this API, right, this particular column will directly go and sit over here with all the data as such, provided it is a full-time or an incremental load. Okay, we'll be talking about load in a minute. Okay, this is what an API does. Okay, takes the information from the source side, understands the table, understands the data in it. We need to create a similar type of table and the column where we need to, and we will be formatting in such a way that the data in this column will go and set the data over here as well. Okay. Generally, what we do is we will actually create exactly the similar kind of column name as such. Okay, so that we don't confuse. So the exact data from the project ID from the Salesforce side will go and sit in the project ID in the Azure side. Okay, this is what the API basically does. Okay. Yes, somebody has a doubt. Please go ahead. Okay.
I have a brief question. My internet, can you hear me though?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. Please go ahead.
So is it transcribing a puzzle per se?
Sorry, transcribing a puzzle.
Yeah, like a direct
Okay, you may say that. You may say that.
code of it.
Yes. Exactly. Right. Let me just show you. Just give me a minute to just log into my Azure. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, it's really good when you have like something working as such, right? You're working and you can show it as such. so that it becomes much easier as such. Okay, let me just show you right away. Okay. Let me just see if it is the warehouse is working as such. So this is how it is, right? You can say it as a puzzle, but basically you need to relate whatever is in your source system. You need to copy that basically, right, in your Azure as such. But there should be a place to copy. So you are exactly putting the table name and the column name just like this, right? You have something like this, right? Row ID, right? This is the source. So you will also create a row ID over here. Okay. And you will keep on copying, right? Let's say this is the Azure. So you keep on copying whatever is there, right? You will keep on copying and putting over here as well. Okay. So that is how it is. Okay. Let me just see if I can just get that. Okay, I will just show you in brief. I need to snip it once again. Just a minute. Okay, let me just show you a little bit. I will have a good understanding. Okay. So over here, if you see this data as of now, okay. So this is basically Microsoft Azure. Okay, we have all the transformations that is going on over here, which is the server part. Okay, we are talking about Azure. There's the server part. And if you see over here, I'm doing a copy data, and this data is coming from Cezanne, one of the data form. This is the HR data set, for example. Okay, so this is the values. Okay, and this is the column name. So we have the exact value that is coming from Cezanne, and I'm putting in Azure, which is exactly the same name over here. Okay, so it is just like a copy that it is doing, or a mapping that we say. Okay, and this is the different sources. So if I'll show you this later on. Okay, so if I go to the source, it will be basically the source will be the Cezanne. We get it. I'll just show you the source as well. Okay, sorry, I can't show you each and everything, but yeah. So if I click on the source, this is the source, which is Cezanne that you see. Okay, and this is the exact path from where the source, we are taking the value from the source, and this is a request get method. Get means get the data. Okay, this is a pull method that we have in API. Okay, and once we do mapping, it will map exactly one column at a time. Okay, one column which is in Cezanne to the one column which is in Azure. Okay, we will have the exact same type of you can say column name as such. Okay, just a minute. Okay, exact same column name, and we'll be copying the data from the source to the you can say the Azure side. Okay, so that is how what we do. Okay,
So we are doing the mapping here through APIs.
sorry.
So we are doing the mapping here, right?
Yeah. We are creating the API over here. API will do each and everything: source, sync, mapping, everything over here.
Okay.
Okay. Let me bring back the. Okay. Hope this is clear. What does an API basically do? Okay, a very important and an intricate thing. Okay. Okay. Now the Azure part. Okay, what do we do over here? Okay, basically when we talk about Azure, right, we basically do the ETL process over here. And by the way, many people actually are doing, and these are separate roles again. Okay, just let me just tell you this as well. Okay, since some of you are interested in roles, and And I like to actually talk about these as well. Okay, ETL dev. For example, I guess some of you have heard of this Informatica. Okay. There's a lot of roles over here as Informatica. Okay. DevOps engineer. As well as prod and application support.
So this product and application support is again another role.
Yeah. These three are different
under-
roles. Just a minute. I'll be explaining everything. Okay. So once we talk about the ETL. So can you tell me what is the full form of ETL? Anyone? Quickly. Okay. ETL is called as extract, E for extract, T for transform, L for load. Okay, extract, transform, load as such. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so the ETL development. So ETL development happens in Azure as such. Okay, and let's say if I actually want to only target, right, the ETL part of it. Okay, not the entire pulling and all. Okay, not to understand what is the API and all. Only and only I am good in SQL as such. Okay, then people target these three roles. Okay, let me just give a brief description about these three roles as such. Okay, first one is ETL developer. Okay, for example, like this is Azure that I'm using. Okay, but in the market there is a lot hype about Informatica, and I don't know why, but that is a hype. Okay, it is similar to Azure. ETL developers are the people who will actually develop the entire flow as well as write the code. Okay, they will actually understand, okay, what data that we are getting, how to transform, which SQL logic to apply, and build the entire ETL flow. Okay, this people will do, ETL developers will do. Okay, second role is production and application support. Okay, this is also a very, very famous role. This is in the maintenance and log debugging. Maintenance and log debugging. Okay, these people will be responsible to firstly check, okay, the server is working correctly. Okay, with the help of logs. Okay, and also they will be also developing the ETL part. So let's say you are doing the transformations, right? And you need to check that, okay, everything has worked correctly. I need to get the data on an everyday basis from Salesforce, from HR system. So every day I should get the data correctly. So they will be doing the monitoring. Okay. For example, let me just quickly show what is monitoring. Okay. Just show you one pipeline. Okay. You will just get an understanding of what do you mean by that. Let me just collapse the paths here. And everything that I'm showing over here is basically from Azure, but there are different tools. But I love Azure because I can show you everything at one shot. Okay. There is no separate tools as such. Okay. For example, sometimes it so happens that in Informatica, there is one tool. For job monitoring, there is one more tool. Okay. Again, these are separate, you can say these are separate, what we say, like roles that is entirely different as such. Okay. If you want to, for example, go for prod and application support, you need to know ETL as well as monitoring as such. Okay. For example, I think so. If you have heard of Control M as one of the famous monitoring tool, but this is a monitoring tool by Azure as such. Okay. For example, every day there is pipeline running as such. Okay, there is pipeline running, and when it started, when it ended, and this was a manual trigger because the pipeline had failed. Once it succeeded, I should get a success message like this. Okay, a success message like this. And if it is failing, right, I need to click over here and it will give me entire like information as when it succeeded, okay, or if it failed, exactly why it failed. It will give the error info that we call. And these people, okay, production and application support people will actually like debug it. Okay, so production and application support is a, you can say it's a part of data engineering, where they are only responsible for the support or the maintenance part to check what the log is, and if the error is there, to report proper type of error. Okay, now you may ask me that, okay, data engineers also will do this, right? So what is the difference between them? Yes, data engineers also do it, provided the scale of the organization. If the organization is very huge, there are, like, let's say the sources that is coming, there are 50, 60 sources, right? There is huge, huge Azure, like huge type of transformations going on. Only few data engineers won't be feasible. So there will be separate team for production application support. There will be separate team for ETL development. There will be separate team for data engineers who will be only and only doing the job of APIs as such, connecting APIs and creating, we call it as CI/CD pipelines. Okay, creating CI/CD pipelines as such. Okay, CI/CD means automated pipelines, which means that automatically it is taking the data and putting it. Okay, we'll talk about CI/CD pipelines later on. Okay, so that is what people are actually, that is what it is. Okay, again, it is more of understanding what like organization that you're working on. If it's a big organization, all small things will be allocated to small people. But if you say it is a, let's say, a startup kind of or a mid-scale, then as a data engineer, you will be doing everything. You will be taking the data, you'll be doing the ETL process, you will be also doing the job monitoring as such. And that is why in smaller organization, in mid-sized organization, we have like Azure Synapse that does everything end to end. Right? We don't need to go to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 tools as such and do everything at separate tools. One tool is more than enough as such. Okay. Yes, somebody has a doubt. Please go ahead.
So I was just trying to connect the ETL roles and the prod and application, the step, all the 3 roles which you said. All these are usually like this is connected to the data engineer role only, right?
Yes, absolutely. It is connected to the data engineer role. Okay, data engineer role does more than what prod and application and ETL development do.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So ETL development is like specific to just extracting, transforming, and loading the data.
Yes, exactly. It is specific to that. Okay. Prod and application support, it is specific to maintenance, and only they won't do any development. They don't know any development, right? They will only check the logs. They will monitor on and see. I don't know if you have heard of these terms or not. Okay. For example, we will have SLA breaches and all. Okay. Service level agreement. Service level agreement tells that if there is a downtime, let's say there is an error, within 30 minutes, you need to solve that, or you need to at least tell that, yes, there is an error that is going on. To whom? To, let's say, the client or to the dev team or any other team. Who will do this? The prod and application support. So usually when you hear about these roles as such, it will be 24/7. That means that they should be available 24 hours across all the 7 days. Of course, they won't work every time. There will be shifts, night shift, evening shift, morning shift. And this is not a very good role to be in, first of all. Okay.
So data engineers also have such kind of things, like
24
yes. Some of the other person will be.
Exactly. Data engineers will be having, but again, it depends on the organization as well. Okay. So let's say that a mid-sized organization, for example, my organization, does not care about after working hours. They are only worried about in the working hours, the server should be okay. Everything should be fixed. After that, nobody's checking the data. It's done.
Okay.
Okay, and then it again starts next day. But some organization, for example, since we are in the healthcare sector as such, okay, it is not quite required. Let's say I talk about transactional data, okay, which is fintech data, okay, trading data, fintech data, okay, financial data, okay, banking data is coming round the clock, 24/7, right? You cannot have a stop time or a downtime over there. So in those domains and in those like organizations, you should have people working round the clock. Okay, you cannot have some transaction or high value transaction sitting there idle, which is not going in the server for more than 30 minutes. That is called as an SLA breach, we call. Okay, these are some of the terminologies that is there. Okay.
Okay, so there will, okay, got it. Yeah. So in such financial or some like critical projects or critical domains, there will be teams which will be having shifts and they will take over the task, but there has to be like 24/7 somebody for like SLA, which is like high priority and urgency. They have to fix it and give it in.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And data engineer would come under that area.
Data engineering would come under that. Okay, data engineering, but data engineers have a lot of like brain power and they have a lot of like, they do a lot, right? So data engineers won't do the application and prod support. They don't do the maintenance. Okay, the maintenance or the prod and application support people will tell that, yes, see, this is a breach that has happened, and they will be informing. They'll be continuously monitoring and they will be informing. Okay, and then let's say that, of course, in those type of organizations, the data engineers should also be available, right? So once it is there, then they need to take care of that as well. Okay, but they won't be monitoring 24/7. Okay, whenever there is an issue, and let's say that's a critical issue, whoever is in that shift and everything, they will be working. Okay.
Okay. So I can expect like shift duties are usually common in data engineer roles.
Yes. Yeah, of course, that is there. Okay, that depends on the organization that you're working in. Okay. Might be so much that the SLA, which basically tell that service level agreement, will basically tell that, sorry, if there is any breach, please inform in 30 minutes. Okay, if it is on a weekend, you don't need to fix it, right? So just inform it. That is more than enough. And the dev people or the like data engineers will come on the weekdays on Monday and fix it. Okay, that also can be the agreement. Okay, it depends on the agreement that we have signed with the particular client. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me just pull the just give me a minute. Okay, great. Okay, so next let's understand the transformation part, okay, that we actually do in Azure. Okay, so usually when we take the data as such, okay, when we take the data and we call the data and we just simply dump the data. Dumping means we take the column from Salesforce and exactly we create a column, right, and we dump the data. Just as I showed you in the other snip, right? In Azure, we will create the data and simply dump the data as such. Whatever column name was there, exactly I will create the column name in Azure and I will dump the data. Okay, that layer is basically called as the raw layer that we have. Okay, raw layer is basically a mapping or a copy command that is done from Salesforce to the in Azure as such, where I have created, let's say, a data warehouse. In the data warehouse, I simply copied the data from Salesforce, the data from HR system, the data from operations, okay, from timesheet, the data from SharePoint, and put it in the raw. Okay, raw again has different data, different tables. One table from Salesforce, one table from HR, one table from timesheet, different tables from different sources as such. Okay. Nothing I did over here, simply I took the data and dumped it over here. That layer is called the raw layer as such. Okay, this layer is also famously called as staging layer. Okay, in many of the ETL tools, other ETL tools apart from Azure, you will see the term as staging layer. Okay, please take a note of it, okay, because these are not there in the document as such. Okay, so it is there. I am making you understand over here, and you can just take a note from here itself. Okay. Okay, so this is the staging layer or the raw layer. Okay, then we go ahead and create something called as the base layer. Okay, in some organizations, raw layer is a simple raw layer. Base layer is called the staging layer. Okay, that depends on the organization nuances that they want to actually keep in. Okay, so that is upon their understanding. Okay, so in the area that I am working in, okay, it is basically in the base layer that is called the staging layer. Okay, in the staging layer, we actually make the data prep ready. Okay, which means that we basically segregate. Okay, this is coming in as all the data as such. Okay, so here what I will be doing, I'll be basically segregating the, okay, this is Salesforce data, this is HR data in a proper clean fashion as such. Okay, where I'm staging it, where I'm keeping it, where in a known place as such. Let's say that I create separate folders as such. Okay, and I keep it so that I can do the transformation. Okay, that is called the base layer. Okay, next we will be doing the ETL process, where we'll be cleaning the data as such. Okay, we will be cleaning the data over here. Okay, cleaning the data and like making the data prep ready. Okay, so removing all the errors, data type cleaning, all this thing we will be doing, and we'll convert it into something called as preparation data, prep data. And in the prep data, okay, sorry, it might be very small as such. Okay, increase the size. Okay, so the prep data. Okay, the prep data will basically talk about this. Basically, part will be clean. I will do the cleaning over here. Okay, removing all the errors, and I will get the prep data as such. Okay. After preparing the data, I will do the transformations. Transformations. Okay, transformations mean I will do the transformation as per the business logic. Business is only giving me revenue, and business is giving me cost, right? Let's say I have revenue as well as cost, and business tells me that, okay, I need profit. So what is profit? Profit is nothing but revenue minus cost. So I will do this new logic. I'll implement this new column called as profit in my transformations. And I'll do a lot of other transformations. Let's say that I want, for example, if I want the like total headcount, so I will do sum. I will use the sum function in SQL, right? I'll do the sum of total count, total headcount. So all these operations I will be doing in the transformations based on the logic as such. Okay. Once all the transformations has been done, then I will create something called as data mart. Data mart layer. Okay. Any understanding what is a data mart? What is called as a data mart layer? Okay. Data mart is basically the layer which actually gives information to individual, you can say individual business units. Okay. I will create data mart for HR. I'll create data mart for operations. I will create data mart for sales. I will create data mart for finance. Okay. Each and every business unit has its own table as such. And each table is represented by something called as data mart. And let's say in my data set as such, okay, for my visualization, I want the data of HR plus operations. So I'll combine both the business units together to come up with something called as curated table. Okay. Curated table. Okay. This is nothing but curated table. Curated tables are tables that actually combine data from different business units to give a combined view as such. Okay. And everything combined over here is basically this, everything combined is basically the ETL process as such. ETL process, the extract, transformation, and loading the data. Once you have curated table, that means your data is visualization ready. You have the exact tables and exact columns inside the tables for your visualization. So the next thing that you will be creating is a data pipeline. This data pipeline again will be created in your Power BI online version, Power BI online web version. And you will be basically visualizing your data where? In your Power BI or Tableau. And what data you will be visualizing? This curated table, which is the last table, that you will be pulling that table in your Power BI, and you will be drawing graphs out of it. Okay. So this is the entire data architecture, which includes the source part, the data, the ETL part, which is the transformation part, okay, as well as the data visualization part, which is the, let's say, Power BI or Tableau. Of course, there are more things to it, data governance and data security. Okay, that also we will be talking about. Okay, if you see over here, I'll be talking about this diagram as well. Okay, but if there's any doubts, any questions over here, please do let me know. Before even starting any data analytics project, this is exactly that we do. This is the first thing that we do. Because a business analyst person is talking to a client, he or she knows what sources are actually applicable. Of course, he or she won't exactly know, okay, I will do this SQL transformation to do this type of transformation. No, he might not know, but he will be knowing the sources, how to pull the data, what API to use, what steps should be taken, and which visualization tool will be taken. And after that, once this is done, then we'll be going deeper and understanding for each and every problem statement, what to do next. Okay. But initially, to showcase to the client, okay, in the data analytics world, we actually first create the data architecture. Even when any external person is coming, let's say hired as such, okay, and the external person has to give in a formal KT, okay, knowledge transfer session. The first thing he or she will ask that, okay, can you show me the data architecture? And then we'll walk through. So if he or she has a good understanding of the data architecture as such, okay, that is more than enough to have a good understanding. So if you see over here, first we have the data sources. So there are different systems. These are flat files, okay, from where the data is coming. There are API connections and there are different app logic. Okay, there are different apps also to take the data as such. Okay, this is the Azure Synapse Analytics, the server, the cloud server. We also call it as the data warehouse. Tomorrow we'll be discussing about data warehouse, data lake, and data mart in general. Okay, and we process all the different stages over here. Once we process these stages as such, and we finish the curator, or we reach to the reporting tables, okay, or the reporting layer, combining the data mart, we report with the help of Power BI, okay, which is the reporting part. So this is the data source part, extracting, which is the API or the pipeline connection, data warehouse, which is the ETL part, and the reporting, which is the Power BI part. Okay, we'll be talking about data security and governance tomorrow, okay, in detail. Okay. But this is the entire data architecture as such. Any doubts, any questions over here?
So from the data warehouse, the curated table which we get, data analysts will be working on that and then report work on the reporting thing.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes. So right now, please don't keep in mind data analyst will do or data engineers will do. This
Okay.
is everybody is doing. Okay, even I do this, even my team does it, even the BA people does it. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
just think of it as everybody should know everything.
Everything.
Data analyst will be implementing this, but data engineer will be implementing each and everything. But this entirely is created by business analysts as well as data analysts as well as data engineers. Okay,
Okay.
everybody will have a combined, but business analyst has a greater, like you can say, a greater say, and he or she is the one who will be creating and presenting. That's it. Okay, but everybody works on this. Okay,
Okay.
because
When you
everybody
said,
should have a knowledge over here. Okay, about everything.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And when you said flat file, what does that flat file mean?
Flat file means, let's say Excel over here, right? This is the Excel. So this is called as a flat file because this is not in a server, right? This is in my local. This is a local CSV or an Excel file, right? Let's say the data is directly coming from Salesforce. What is Salesforce? It is a CRM tool. It is an online tool from where the data is coming, right? So this is an online tool. If it's a flat file, Excel and all, right? Excel or CSV file that is residing in your system, that is called as a flat file or a local file, local in your system. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Clear? Any more doubts? Any more questions over here?
So these systems like the Salesforce or the HR system, different names which we have written, this will be synchronized with the ETL, with the Azure Cloud Server,
Yes.
some pipelines or something, and then
Yes,
we'll
yes.
get it.
This is the pipeline, right? This is the pipeline. Various API connection that you see, this is the pipeline. All the dash that you see over here, yeah, all these things, right? These are the pipelines. This is the pipeline.
These are automated ones or on a continuous basis, and the data automatically comes in.
Yes, yes. Exactly, exactly. API script or API does that. REST API does that. Okay, automatic put. Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, please. Any other doubts?
I missed the orientation of it, and then where can I access the recording of this class?
Okay, so usually the recording is actually uploaded, let's say after the class is over. Let's say, I think so in about 3 to 4 hours, it is actually uploaded. And you will get in the classroom as such, in your respective classroom, and it also comes as a mail as such, a mail trigger. Okay, so check for that. I think so you will get in either of the same. Great. Okay, everybody, let's keep it up till here. Okay, and we'll meet tomorrow and continue with our discussion.
Deep, how do we get a contact with you with an email address? I didn't see.
So you can just email me. So you can email me in my work email. Okay, which is, let me just write it over here. Such. Okay. And also you can just connect with me in LinkedIn as well. Okay. So, but first you can email me over here.
You can put it in the chat. Where is it?
Yeah, I'm putting it in the chat. Okay. You can email me over here, sordeep@cscd.org. Okay. I think so. It is org only. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because I have a couple.
Or you can even
to send.
Sorry.
Schedule. I have a couple of conflicts to send to you in the schedule. So these were appointments done before the class started.
So I usually log in during your time, which is 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. and usually, but of course, you can just reach me out if there is any other thing, okay, via chat, and we'll be scheduling the same.
Perfect.
Okay. But if you have any doubts regarding the class as such, okay, or any module, so usually before the class begins, I give around 10 to 15 minutes for any doubt clearing regarding the class as such. Okay. So if you have anything regarding the class, you can connect with me, or if you have anything specific outside the class that you want to discuss, which is quite urgent, then you can just mail me and we can find a suitable time to connect. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. And let's meet tomorrow then, and we'll be going ahead with the discussion. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Deep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.